your store's name is home entertainment. That kind of encompasses everything. That kind of opens the door for you in so many ways to do things like, adding outdoor grills and other outdoor experiences to kind of what you do.
Yeah, it was kind of funny how it happened that way. I mean, when we started the business in 1997, I thought, I don't know what to call a business. And my mother, she just said, well, why don't you just call it Brad's TV? Then I said, well, Brad's Home Entertainment, because we're actually putting entertainment in people's houses. I never dreamed of all of this.
Welcome into the Independent Thinking Podcast. This is your host, Rob Stott. Today we take a quick little trip out to Mountain Home, Arkansas to get to know a little bit more about Brad Elbrader, who's the owner and operator of Brad's Home Entertainment. They're in a small little town of just a few thousand folks and out there in Arkansas. And Brad is a member of HTSN and has been in business since 1997. We got introduced to him through a project we're working on for our 50th anniversary here at Nationwide Marketing Group, but long story short, Brad almost experienced a situation where he could have gone out of business before it really got up and off the ground. I mean, just about 2 years into owning Brad's Home Entertainment, a fire tore through his store and completely brought it down to the ground and essentially wiped out everything he had going on. But through some luck, some good connections, and a lot of help in his community, was able to pick himself back up and get started. And I mean, not just, get started again, but did so in a tremendously fast pace, was up basically, according to Brad, as he tells us, within a week, found himself a new location and got up and rolling again. And now here we are, almost 22 years later from the incident. And he's a thriving business there in a small town in middle America. So just an awesome story, one that, like we said, caught our eye, but so much more to him. I mean, Brad's Home Entertainment started as a business that was just selling TVs and antennas and basically pulling cables and doing what you'd expect an integrator and slash retailer to do during that time, but has evolved. He now sells outdoor, is in on home automation, has so many different aspects to his business that the way he tells it, he couldn't have dreamed about back then. So just a great story, one that we were excited to fall upon and learn a little bit more about, and obviously excited to share here on the podcast. So let's just go ahead and dive into it. We got Brad Elbrader of Brad's Home Entertainment here on the Independent Thinking Podcast. All right, we are back on the Independent Thinking Podcast, and excited right now, diving out into Mountain Home, Arkansas, to talk with Brad's Home Entertainment and owner over there at Brad's Entertainment, Brad Elbrader. So, Brad, I appreciate you taking the time and checking in this morning and get peeling back the covers and letting us see a little bit more about you and your business.
Well, thanks for the opportunity.
Not a problem. And let's start right there. I know you started in, correct me if I'm wrong, 1997. So a little over, 24-ish years ago.
Yeah, 1997 is when I started my own business. I actually started in this field in 1985. I went straight out of high school and went into a VOTEC for electronics and took a 2-year schooling, but I did it in a year and a half because I crunched the summers too. Instead of everybody out having fun, I was actually doing schoolwork. But I worked for another company for several years, and there was a divorce in that situation as far as the people who owned it. It kind of turned that business upside down. So I decided, hey, this is a good time for me to do this on my own.
Sounds, obviously pick up on a good opportunity, but I want to go back a little further because, not too long ago, we had a podcast on here with another, HTSN member. And I always love asking because, you mentioned you went to VOTEC school. There had to be some bug that bit you with electronics that got you really excited or invested in it and interested in it. So what, can you pinpoint the time when you realized that you thought, this could be more than a hobby, or maybe when that hobby, you caught the bug from that hobby?
Actually, it was just one of those things out of school. I thought, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? And I thought, I like tinkering with electronics. I love the electronics world of technology. I just love the technology industry. Of course, technology was kind of boring back then because you had a picture tube TV or a picture tube TV or a picture tube TV. There was none of this exciting stuff, and so I decided I was going to go to school and learn it, and I actually got into the repair end of it. It's where I really started at it, and so I learned to repair TVs, and I did that for years, and I still do it somewhat. Of course, it's nothing like the old days, but after I got out of school and got into it, the bug really hit me of, hey, I like this, I love it, and to be honest with you, several years ago, before flat panel came out, I started getting bored with it because nothing's changed. And then when LED flat panel or LCD back then hit the flat panel industry, it got exciting again and just started rolling.
No, that's awesome. And we'll talk about that path. I mean, starting in service, did you ever imagine out of Votech school that you'd end up owning your own business? And, part two to that is, what was that path like to get from, doing just repairs to owning?
Well, living in a small town, I kind of had in the back of my mind, I wanted to have my own business someday. I love the area I live in. It's a smaller town, like 30,000 people or so, and it's rolling mountains and lakes and rivers around here, and it's kind of a slow pace. And I just love the area I live in, and I didn't want to have to move off or travel a lot on the road. So, hey, when I was repairing TVs and then started my own business repairing TVs and doing satellite and antenna work, one day I just woke up and thought, hey, you know what? I'm just going to start sticking a few TVs in the little tiny showroom I had back then. I think I had 1,000 square foot building. So
Wow.
That's where I started selling TVs also. And then I kind of went from that to expanding on it and bringing in more and more product and having to move, of course.
Right. And well, let's talk about that evolution. Cause I mean, when you guys started, it was just, you mentioned the antennas and TVs. What kind of, was that it? Was that it before you started expanding and then, following up on that, what do you do? Like, how do you know what to expand into? What things are you keeping an eye on as you look to add more categories and products to, what you're doing?
Yeah, we did like antenna work and satellite work, and I did some pre-wiring of homes for audio, which back then was kind of basic. It wasn't like today,
Yeah.
but it just started evolving more and more, and it got to the point that I was working through the day, and then I'd close the store at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then I'd go out and do service calls, pull wire, antenna work, and then when I moved into a new location and started selling a lot more TVs, I started hiring people and started getting other guys involved in pulling the wires and going out and doing the labor work, and it just kept evolving more and more and more. And I will say the buying group nationwide helped me through this a lot. And I'll say, especially in the last several years, since they kind of changed things up and made the HTSN group, and Hank took over that part, and it's really evolved since then with him. And the advisory boards the group has, they allowed me to be on the advisory board. I remember when Dave Robinson started these CE advisory boards in our group years ago. He walked up to me one day and he said, "Hey, I got an idea. I want to start an advisory board." I was like, "Well, that sounds cool." He goes, "We're going to do it for each division, electronics, appliances." And he goes, I said, "That sounds like a really good idea." And he goes, "I'm glad you like it because you're on it." So that's how I kind of got pulled into that one. So, but now the industry just kept moving on, and we started doing so much outdoor. Well, we got into Control 4.
Right.
And that really started taking off for us, the home automation world, especially in the last several years. But after we got involved with that, we started doing so many outdoor living areas as far as putting in TV, putting in audio systems. I can remember several years we did a complete home. I mean, gigantic home. They had the swimming pool. And we actually put subwoofers in the ground, of course, and
Yep.
made this system to where when you crank it up, if it's a nice calm day, you can see the ripples on her swimming pool. And I thought, this is cool. This is what it's all about. And I have an awesome tech named Chris Fairchild, who is just, if you put a problem in front of him, people having, a problem of, we want to do this, but we don't know how to do it. He loves that kind of situation because he thrives in making things work and making them work awesome. He just loves the industry like that. So we
How
have fun.
you talk about all those things, and I mean, the thing that my mind goes back to is that a lot of it was, early on just pulling wires. How much is that changed, and how much have you had to educate yourself on all these new technologies? And I mean, does it kind of all still relate back to that, or is it a lot different today than I mean, it is a lot different with all the different technologies and home automation and things like that, but the core of what you do, how much of that has changed?
The basics, of course, pulling cables, that's still basic, but what's really changed is when you talk about basics of pulling cable is back then it was a coax and a speaker wire. Now it's Cat5, Cat
Yep.
6, and you have to know about Zigbee technology and Wi-Fi technology, and you got to know about networking, and it's just expanded so much now that you don't know this little pinpoint thing that you're doing. You got to know the whole realm around it, but you have to know how to take that pinpoint and make it work with all of this. And I'll even say there's some weird things that we started doing that really took off because like I said, we were doing the outdoor systems so much and the control systems even for outside, that one day I got to sit there looking on the guy's back deck and I thought, oh, he has a grill. So I decided to bring in Traeger grills, and people started saying, well, I thought you was an electronics store. Now you're bringing in grills. I'm like, well, we're doing so much outdoor technology that everybody has a grill on their back deck. Why not try it? And since then, that business has blowed up too. It's gigantic.
Well, that's one of the things when I approached you about wanting to do an interview, the thing that struck me was your store's name is Home Entertainment. I mean, that kind of encompasses everything. It's yes, your core business might have been years ago TVs and antennas and things like that, and still today, it's the audio and networking and things like that. But it's home entertainment. Like how that kind of opens the door for you in so many ways to do things like you mentioned. Adding outdoor grills and other outdoor, it is electronics, but other outdoor experiences to kind of what you do. I mean, is that sort of the way you think about it too?
Yeah, it was kind of funny how it happened that way. I mean, when we started the business in 1997, I thought, I don't know what to call a business. And my mother, she just said, well, why don't you just call it Brad's Home Entertainment? Or she said Brad's TV. Then I said, well, Brad's Home Entertainment, because we're actually putting entertainment in people's houses. Well, I never dreamed of all of this that's going on now. I mean, you think of a grill, like I said, Traeger grills is our number one selling grill, but even they are technology driven now to where they're Wi-Fi connected and their headquarters can push software down into their system. So hey, to make that work on a back deck, do you have good internet on your back deck? Do you have an awesome network? So we can actually make that happen for people. So we can even expand on just a grill.
It's funny how everything kind of falls back to the tech category in one way or another. Even furniture today. I know you guys have a small selection of home entertainment and home theater furniture, but like you're seeing USB cables pop up into them. I'm just waiting for the Wi-Fi recliner that you can hit a button on your phone and it kind of like cars, you have the memory settings for who driver 1, driver 2 is. Hit a button and you get your favorite recline position. I'm sure it's coming.
You dream it, it's going to happen.
No, that's awesome. So talk about, the importance of it. I know that, obviously they're your number one selling grill, but I know that especially within the last year and a half, Traeger has kind of meant a lot to you and what you were able to do as a business kind of working through this pandemic. Can you talk about that a little bit and just what they brought to the table for you?
Oh yeah. I'll say that between Traeger and Samsung, our business since the pandemic just skyrocketed. I will say several years ago, we were actually struggling. I mean, it was bad times. I had to pull money from different places just to keep this business going. And then out of the blue, a bunch of these bids I had done years before started popping in. I'll even say this: you think of Brad's home entertainment, and you think of residential, but we even started expanding more into the business realm of it, the commercial end of it, and that it just everything hit at once. I hate to say the pandemic was a good thing because it's horrible. I mean, I don't wish
Right.
it on nobody, and I've actually got a tech right now who's in pretty bad shape from it. But it was a boost for us. I mean, it just our business since the pandemic took off, and we had a record year last year, and most of that was driven by Traeger and Samsung. And when I looked at last year, I thought, wow, that was a banner year. Surely it's going to slow down. Well, every month so far this year has broke last year's record for the same month. So
Wow.
it just keeps going on and on and on. And Traeger, here in a few weeks, well, 6, 8 weeks, I will be either flying out to Utah or by Zoom, we'll be going over what the new products are that they're going to announce here for next year. So Samsung this year, they came out with their Neo QLED. So
Yep.
they've done an awesome job of creating another buzz. 8K to me is not that big of a buzz because there's just not that much pushing 8K. I feel like we're talking
Right.
about 4K several years ago now, but that's just the way it is. We sell a few 8K TVs, but we sell more of, hey, here's the new product, the Neo QLED, and people are wanting what is new in the market.
No, that's awesome. And how, I mean, have there been challenges to that? It sounds crazy because, you're doing so well, and businesses, you're seeing the boost in the business. Has it been a struggle? Because I know a lot of retailers right now talk about the product and supply chain issues that they're facing. Are you having those same challenges? And if so, what's it like to manage them, or what are you doing to manage them?
Well, used to we'd order TVs and we would get the products in 2 or 3 days. Now it might take a week sometimes, but Samsung's done a pretty good job of keeping us uh, with product. This platinum program that Hank and Jim Mayo designed between the two of them, um, it's an awesome program for everybody, and it's really been beneficial for us. And the only drawbacks I see is we have some issues with some product. There's some other manufacturers out there that they take 2 weeks to get us a product, and they say, well, what you need to do is order now, and knowing what you're going to do in 2 weeks. Well, nobody has a clue what they're going to be doing in 2 weeks, and the fluctuation of pricing goes up and down so much on these products that you could end up upside down if you stock a bunch of this stuff. So we just try to rely on Samsung because they've been really good at getting us what we need when we need it. Traeger's been good since we're a platinum dealer with them. They've been very good at getting me product as I need it. So the furniture industry, or our TV cabinets, I will say that is the hardest industry right now. I usually have a showroom full of furniture, and right now I've got like 5 or 6 pieces, and it looks empty. Kind of weird looking in here, but that's just the way of the world right now. And you know, we're thinking and hoping that by the end of this year, a lot of that will be turned around too.
Do your customer, as they come in, do customers understand that? Like, are they, I don't want to say accepting of that fact, but do they kind of, sympathize with the fact that they know what's going on, and so that it's not, you know, it's not something that catches them off guard. Like, why are your furniture pieces so few?
Most definitely, people are hearing it all over. Matter of fact, a lot of people when they come in and they kind of look around, it's not. It's kind of funny because it's to the point of they'll kind of look around and the wife says, "Well, I kind of like that one." He says, well, "Let's get it because you ain't gonna find nothing else." They are understanding to it. You know, they know what's going on out there. They've heard it before. So most people are understanding. There are a couple, you always have one or two people that want to show themselves and try to make you feel like I'm the jerk because I don't have everything they need. But most people are understanding.
Gotcha. Well, I want to shift a little bit because we've been talking about just inherently the install business that you have. How important was that to you prior to the pandemic? And then, did that shift at all? Did it become more important or less important, over the past 18 months?
Yeah, over the last 18 months, the way I do my scheduling, we might be 2 or 3 days out when people walk in here. After the pandemic hit, it's like we had a constant pipeline that never shut off. It just kept going and going and going. And it's a good thing, but also it's a bad thing. Unfortunately, now it's to the point of people come in and like we got several houseboats, which I'd never dreamed we'd be doing control
Wow.
systems on houseboats, but we do a lot of houseboats with control systems. We got several people out there that we've done told we're 2 months before we're ever going to get to you.
Wow.
And they're understanding that most of them are understanding that because there again, they know they may be building a house somewhere and the builders are getting delayed. And so when we say we're this far out on doing service, they understand why. It's weird. It's a different world out there right now. People are wanting to spend more time. If they have to spend more time sitting in their house, they want the best products. They want it to work the best way it can, the easiest way it can. And hey, it's great for people who will actually put the time in. And I'll say if you have a business out there and you have technicians, it's super important to keep them up to date too. Get them to class schooling. Hank and his team have these classes you can do online. The CEDIA program we've started now, that's a great program. So there's avenues out there for trainings right now, which is very important.
And I for sure, and I know we've heard a lot of great things. I think early on, just about what even just the potential, because I know everyone in this space knows CEDIA, knows what they bring to the table, but getting to partner up with them, I know has done some things and given some people opportunities that maybe they hadn't thought about or didn't want to consider the investment over there. But the partnership and getting that membership, I know there's been a lot of positive early returns on that. So definitely something to hear. Excited to hear that you guys are thinking about that as well. And I want to go back to almost the beginning of your business, because it all there was a time where you're 2 years old as a company, and you had a crazy situation. I mean, how close during? Let's just put it out there. There was a fire at Brad's Home Entertainment. You guys were located in a strip mall at that time.
Yeah, we were in a small strip center. And yeah, we was only a couple, like you say, I was still on the bottle back then, or bottle fed about a business, learning the ins and outs. And
I mean, I don't know if you could get into the what's and whys, but like as that's happening, what's the thought going through your head? What is that time like when you find out that your business is on fire?
well, actually, I found out it was like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. My phone rings, and it's a call that this isn't good when your phone rings then. But all I heard was, "This is so and so with the Mountain Home Fire Department, and your business is on fire."
Oh man!
And so I jumped out of bed, and by the time I was about 10 minutes from my store back then, and by the time I got to the store, they pretty much had it out, but I could tell there was nothing there inside. It was gutted.
Did they know at that point
At
what
that
it?
point in time, they knew where it started, but they did not know why. And they first thought it might have been I had a surge protector there, and they thought it might have failed. Well, come to find out, months later, after they did a investigation, that whoever did the actual electrical work in that building forgot to ground my building. So there was
Oh,
no ground to the building, and that caused the issue.
wow. Uh, I mean, like we said, a year and a half, almost 2 years old. What's do you think this is it? Do you think that's it for the business, or what's kind of going through your head?
Well, as I walked up there, of course, my world was falling around me, and I could remember because on my way to it, I actually called, and he answered the phone at that time in the morning, was my insurance agent, which he's actually a buddy of mine. And I've never had to use insurance. So I'm freaking out, telling he says, "Oh, I'll be there. Don't worry." And I wasn't there too long, and he shows up, and he just walked up, put his arm on my shoulder, and he said, "Buddy, don't worry. You're taken care of. Everything will be okay." And after the firemen got everything put out and the sun started coming up, and I walked in, kind of looked around. He says, "Here, let me take you to breakfast." So we went and sat down. He says, "I just want you to know, hey, we're going to get you taken care of by this time tomorrow. I will have you a check for half of your claim because I know this is a total loss, and we'll get you back up and going." And immediately I found in the strip center there was another place open, and so I moved immediately into it. And it was by the end of that, a few days later, I was actually up and running again.
Which is that is crazy to think about to me. I mean, you weren't obviously up and running in the same spot. You found a new spot, but like to pick up, uproot, and move a business to a new spot and be up in about a week. You know how? I mean, were you working around the clock? Did you sleep at all that week?
I had a little sleep. Yeah, I think most of my sleep was actually as I sit there trying to think about things, I just fall asleep. But no, honestly, I didn't. It wasn't that bad. To be honest with you, I just said, "Lord, if you want me to keep doing this, you're going to fix it. Everything's going to be okay." And I actually had people from the church I went to that morning showing up with shovels in their hands saying, "Hey,
Wow.
we want us to help you. Is there anything we can do?" And I had customers that were showing up saying, "What do we need to do to help you?" Of course, there's nothing you can do at that point in time because they have to do the investigation before you can start cleaning things out. But it was just awesome. The community around here, my church, and everybody who offered the help. And it made me feel better about knowing, hey, I'm doing the right thing by going forward with this.
No, that's awesome. And I mean that kind of speaks to just how cool it is to be in a small community. Like I'm from I can't speak too closely to it because I'm sitting here just a stone's throw from Center City, Philadelphia, but I can imagine having that kind of reaction and support. Just really I mean you said it kind of shows what it means to be in a small community, in a small town, and being a business owner in a small town, and just how tight knit the community is and how they can really rally around you in a time of need.
Yeah, it made me really realize way back then how important it is to be involved in the community. Yes, you own a business, and yes, you're here to make money, but you're not here to make your retirement off of oneself. Uh, you know, you want to help people, and it's fun to help people. Uh, I still have fun doing this. There are times I get wore down, but it's still fun to me. But even, like I say, back then it made me realize that how important it was to be involved in the community. And even today, uh, we do the fair every year at a big event for our county, and I will have people, floods of people that come through there, and they just smile and look at me and say, "Hey, we remember when you first started." And those people are telling people who are moving into the area, "Hey, if you need stuff done, here's who you need to go see." So it's all about networking. It's all about taking care of, you may sell one customer a 32-inch TV and make 10, 15 bucks on the stinking TV. But years down the road, you're making a lot more because you took care of what they needed at that point in time.
Is there I mean aside from benefiting from the fact you got to move into a new spot, is there any lessons you carried forward from that time that you still think about today that you could still apply to what you do today?
Well, the biggest lesson I did learn is it's super important that your insurance company is going to be behind you. I mean, I hate
Yeah.
to say it that way, but that is why I used the, the my buddy that was in insurance. That's why I used him, because I knew that if I had something, which I never dreamed I would do it, that I thought, hey, if I ever need something, he's local, he's here, he'll be able to help me through things. And my gosh, did I need him? And he came through with flying colors.
Not to mention, you also, I'm sure, checking to make sure wires are grounded. So
Oh yeah, yeah. Actually, I'm in a complex now that sits out by a Walmart. It's the new part of town, we call it. It's outside of Mountain Home, I mean, around the outskirts, but everything's moving out this way. And it's funny because when we moved into this complex, I made the comment to my wife. I said, "Well, the first thing I'm going to do is hire the electrician to check the wiring in that place out." So, uh, but no, it's been a roller coaster over the last 24 years. Uh, there's been bad times, but there's been some awesome times, and it's in those valleys that makes us stronger, especially as an independent retailer. Let's face it, it's hard to be an independent, and when you go through those valleys, you will just stay strong and keep your beliefs, and keep moving forward. Hey, when you come out the other end, you're going to be a lot stronger, and you look back and you think, wow, I made it through that storm, and you're ready for the next one. But hey, listen, just enjoy the good times right now.
No, that's awesome. And I think a perfect way to kind of put a bow on it. So I appreciate, Brad, you taking the time this morning and checking in with us and sharing your story. A lot of great things to, learn and take out of this. So I appreciate you sharing it, having the availability and interesting coming on. And hopefully we'll catch up soon. I know, we've got Nashville here in a couple of weeks. Maybe we'll see you there. We'll see what it's like. And, I just appreciate it and hope to catch up down the line, and obviously, continue to wish you continued success in what you guys are doing.
Well, thank you very much. And I do look so forward to seeing everybody at prime time, because that personal contact with the vendors and the folks that we meet, it's so awesome. And it's been so horrible this last year and a half not to be able to be face to face. Here we are talking to each other on a box. I hate that. I don't hate it, but it's just person's a lot better.
It is not the same for sure.
And I will tell people that when you do get to the prime time, talk to these people, talk to the vendors, because you get that personal relationships going with these different vendors, and it helps so much. Jim Mayo with Samsung, man, after I sat down with him, I was not even thinking really. I was anti Samsung. And after sitting down with him and hearing all the new stuff he was doing, hey, that's what started my Samsung trail right now. So I will tell people, show up at prime time, talk to those vendors, get to know them, get relationships going, and just enjoy it.
That's awesome. Well, look forward to, seeing you there then and making some new connections. So I appreciate it. And I look forward to talking again soon.
Thank you.
Awesome. And thank you again to Brad for taking time and chatting with us and just opening the door and telling us a lot about his business and, what he went through, what it was like to experience that incredibly, awful situation so early on as a business owner, and but also just about his resiliency and just his, what he was able to do to get back up and running so quickly, and how he leaned on his community and they came out to support him. Just a great story. One that could have ended a lot differently, but here we are today, thankfully, and have him as a member, and one that can, talk to some of the great things he's got going on. So appreciate him, taking the time to chat with us. And as always, appreciate you listening to the Independent Thinking Podcast, and we will catch you next time.